It's one of the most unusual books to have been published in recent times. Imagine a collaboration between the former head of the RAW and the former chief of the ISI. Just the fact of the book itself is making headlines. The Spy Chronicles, documented by A.S. Dulat and General Asad Durrani on the other side in Pakistan. A.S. Dulat is here with us. It's kind of surreal to read the conversations between the two of you, which have been conducted by Aditya Sinha in many different parts of the world, because there's an oddness to the conviviality. These are two countries that are fierce adversaries. Yet listening to you guys, it's like you're having drinks at the Gymkhana Club bar. That's what it sounds like.
Well, some of it was like that.
In different bars across the world?
Not in different bars, but in different rooms across the world. But, you know, in a sense, because we had been meeting for 8-10 years, and what is more significant that in the last 5 years, we've been having an intelligence dialogue where 3 from Pakistan and 3 from our side normally participate. So that brought things much closer together. So in a sense, it is an extension of those conversations,
but there's a lot of
held in
respect.
private.
But there's a lot of mutual respect. You refer to General Durrani as the boss in most of the conversations.
I used to refer to him as the boss even in the meetings. And he would say, "Ye itna wo hai, harami hai, mujhe boss kehta hai," and then after that disagrees with whatever I say.
Well, that's your job. I mean, you're being true to what you believe and he's being true to what he believes, right? But at one point, a question is put to both of you, which is the better spook agency? Is it RAW, is it ISI? And Asad Durrani actually says that they are at least as good as we are. So you're actually complimenting each other on each other's professionalism. I mean, I can't even reconcile this with the larger truth of India and Pakistan.
You see, the more interesting thing, this business that the RAW is at least as good as the ISI.
Suggests that it might be better.
Yeah. Actually, he admitted it might be better. This I had used in the last book as well. But here he has said something much more significant, because he was one of those ISI chiefs who met with one of our chiefs, Gauri Shankar Bajpai. And he was very impressed with Bajpai. And he said this guy was a professional, where I was a what they call line general, and I didn't know too much about intelligence. You guys are much more professional. So he admits that.
So one of the very interesting things is that he sounds quite critical of his own establishment in parts. For example, he's clearly not a fan of former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. And he's quite complimentary of both Prime Minister Modi and NSA Ajit Doval. At one point, he says about Nawaz Sharif on international relations has the acumen of a camel. And so then Aditya Sinha prods him and says, well, if Sharif is like a camel, Modi is like, and he says Modi is like a fox. He's smart. So is Doval. On both these counts, India has the advantage.
Yeah. You see, let's not forget that the army calls the shots in Pakistan. And he has been an army man more than anything else, a 3-star general. So he's never had any great respect for any politician in Pakistan. The one person he now talks quite well of is the current Prime Minister. And I think this Abbasi is possibly the army's favorite to continue as Prime Minister after the next elections.
There is a whole chapter in the book on NSA Ajit Doval. And as you yourself say in one of the dialogues, his shadow looms large over many India-Pakistan dialogues, both track 1 and track 2. At one point you say, the Pakistanis should invite Ajit Doval. He loves Pakistan. He'd love to go to Lahore. How do you make a statement like this when the perception is that Mr. Doval is in fact quite hawkish, quite a hardliner on Pakistan?
Exactly for that reason. You see, when this whole thing came to a standstill, this logjam occurred, and we were meeting, I made this suggestion at one of the meetings. I said, look, why don't you do this? Why don't you invite Ajit Doval to Lahore, the NSA to Lahore? And that could get the process going.
And what was the response?
And the response was, yes, that's a good idea.
They wanted to invite him?
They thought it was a good idea. They didn't object. Then, in fact, one of our colleagues came and to the extent of saying, but you must arrange a meeting also with the army chief. And they said, yeah, that is also possible. It should not be difficult. But it didn't happen because Pakistan didn't have the vision, they didn't have the imagination, they didn't have the gumption to get Ajit across.
But Ajit Doval is almost like an element in the India-Pakistan equation when we hear you and General Durrani talking.
Of course he is.
What kind of element is he?
Well, he does call the shots. He is a big player. And with Modi ji, I mean, they're made for each other. So, his job has become so much more comfortable.
Explain this. They're made for each other?
Made for each other means they have very similar personalities.
In what way?
In every way. That, Modi ji is his own man. Some people say he doesn't trust nobody, not even Amit Shah. Ajit is exactly the same. Yeah? He will appear to be very friendly, will talk to everybody, meet everybody, but he keeps his counsel very close and he doesn't let out anything, which is as a spook should be. So as a professional, he is the best.
Yet at one point, and this doesn't contradict what you've just said, you say that if that invitation to visit Pakistan had come, I think the exact words you use are, if Ajit Doval saw that he could come in a bigger and better light, he would take that opportunity. What are you suggesting there?
That's why I said invite him to Pakistan, because I was sure he would go to Pakistan. In fact, at one stage, the Pakistanis said, how do we know? Suppose he's invited and he turns down. Yeah. So that was checked up, and Ajit said, from what I understand, that Ajit said, okay, I'm prepared to go. But the Pakistanis didn't have that gumption. I think it was a Pakistani failure.
There's also an account of a meeting that takes place between 6 former Pakistan High Commissioners and Mr. Doval. And both you and Durrani Saab have very different accounts or understandings of what happens at this meeting. General Durrani says Ajit Doval was unfriendly, he didn't shake their hands. You contest that. And you say your understanding is that these 6 gentlemen actually went away taken aback by how friendly he was. So how are they two completely different accounts of this meeting?
Well, neither of us was present there, so we would not know. And I told the general, I said, obviously you got your account from one of the high commissioners who was there, who may not have been too happy. But from what I heard in Delhi, the meeting went off very well. And to double check, I asked Sati Lamba, who arranged the whole show, and he said it was a good meeting.
Now, Doval is clearly this larger-than-life figure in the India-Pakistan dialogue in a way that his counterpart, General Janjua, is not, right? What did you pick up? How is Mr. Doval perceived in Pakistan? Is there a kind of mythology around, the chapter is called the Doval Doctrine. What is the Doval Doctrine?
Yeah, they say that the Doval Doctrine is very hardline.
Do you believe that?
Well, he is hardline, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he's not a dove. He is tough, and I suppose he feels he's shouldering great responsibility as NSA, and in the kind of setup we have, he needs to be tough.
Is there anything you'd advise him to do differently?
Yeah, a lot of things, but he wouldn't listen to me. We are different types of people.
Give me an example of one. You said he's been a friend of yours, so I'm sure you've expressed your opinion.
We have been very good friends. We understand each other very well. We are different types of people. We work together in Kashmir, and my thing to Ajit always was, you do it your way. We want results, and he produced the results.
And a piece of advice.
And he's a doer.
A piece of advice you'd give him today.
A piece of advice I have given him
is,
please talk in Kashmir, talk to the Kashmiris.
So I'm going to come to Kashmir in just a moment, but on Pakistan, of course, the entire premise of this book is that the way you and General Durrani are talking, there should be an opportunity not just for retired spooks to talk, but actually for active serving intelligence agencies to have an institutional dialogue. Mr. Dulat, are you being a romantic, a retired peacenik, as it were? There's this thing that happens with all you guys, like you're hawkish in government. Once you retire, you all become Aman ki Asha types, right? Where is this optimism coming from? What is it going to achieve if the ISI and the RAW start talking?
You see, this is something which has been advocated even by the hawks, even by the hardliners. I don't think Ajit Doval would be opposed to this. Incidentally, when this intelligence dialogue started, Ajit attended the first couple of rounds.
He was not in government then.
Of course he was not in government. And then he sensed that things were looking up for him and he left at the right time. But he was not opposed to this.
But what will it achieve? When your policies are at odds with each other, when you are adversaries and there is no roadmap for what you're talking about, what good will talking do? I mean, let me be the cynic here.
Yeah, there's good reason to be cynical, but the point is that every time the chiefs have met, and it's mostly been a one-off thing, I don't think on either side anybody has complained that it was a waste of time or whatever it was. I mean, to take C.D. Sahaya's case, and both he and Hassan claimed the 2003 ceasefire was because of them, and then we go on to that.
The 2003 ceasefire at the line of control, which held for pretty much a decade almost.
Yeah,
and then started getting interrupted.
And then that thing about saving Musharraf's life. So
wait, a lot of people may not know that, so I'm going to pause you here. A tip-off from the RAW helped save the life of General Pervez Musharraf.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
You see, the RAW obviously got information or got wind that the Jaish was after Musharraf and that they were planning to blow up his motorcade or whatever it was. So this was passed on to the ISI and they took precautions, and Ehsan admits that it probably or possibly saved the president's life.
Now, and he apparently conveyed his gratitude.
He did. He also said that I'm thankful.
You're very soft on Musharraf.
No, it's not a question of being soft. I've been watching, for 30 years I've been watching Kashmir. And if you look back, there is no other Pakistani leader who has been as reasonable on Kashmir as Musharraf has been.
But he was also the architect of Kargil.
Yeah.
He was the architect of IC-814.
Sure.
He is today a man who backs Hafiz Saeed contesting elections.
These things happen, with people over frustration. Musharraf obviously thought, he had possibly done a deal when Benazir came back. And possibly he was hoping if Benazir became Prime Minister, he would be President. And then he would have a political role in Pakistan. He wanted a role in Pakistan. But in course of time, he's become persona non grata. And he's become persona non grata because the Pakistani establishment, the army in particular, feels he moved too fast on Kashmir. This 4-point formula is not acceptable to Pakistan. Ironically, today it's not acceptable to India either. So if it had happened in 2006-07, then it would have been a different thing.
But talking about Kashmir, one of the, we can debate Musharraf endlessly, but moving on and talking about Kashmir, one of the big reveals I thought from General Durrani is that he's asked, what do you think is the ISI's biggest failure against India? And he says that it was the failure to actually forecast or understand that the Kashmir issue would become this big. And Durrani was ISI chief in 1990, which is when the insurgency is just starting in the Kashmir Valley. It was at its height. So to me, it seems as if Pakistan did not intend or did not think or did not plan for Kashmir to have become what it has.
That's right. That clearly comes out in this book. And
that's a huge admission.
Yeah, it is.
What did you make of those comments by Durrani?
I myself was surprised because I thought Pakistan had planned this whole thing. Yeah. But if you recall, when 89-90 happened, it was a handful of JKLF boys. Yeah. And so they thought that after they'd been to Pakistan and been trained and whatever, they thought that Azadi was around the corner, that Pakistan was going to come and support, but Pakistan never came. There was no Pakistani support.
And he says another mistake that Pakistan made is that they never looked at the independence, the third option. They only looked at Kashmir as India and Pakistan. And that it may have been a mistake to not look at the Azadi option?
Yeah,
From a strategic
actually
Pakistani point of
that is also got to do with his personal equation with Amanullah Khan. Because I asked him, I said, how many top Kashmiri leaders did you know? And he immediately named Amanullah Khan, that I had a good relationship with him. But we did not fully utilize that relationship.
He actually goes so far as to say the ISI failed to leverage Kashmir. Like he actually makes that admission.
That's right.
It's a huge admission.
That's right.
And you, when you are asked what is the RAW's biggest failure, you say our failure to turn an ISI asset that counts.
Quite right. I mean, if you are in the business of intelligence, and we say that our main enemy is Pakistan, at least in the intelligence sense, then we need to be targeting those guys and targeting somebody significant. There's no point picking up high commission clerks and things like that.
IK Gujral came and basically shut down any plans to build assets in Pakistan, right?
I don't believe that. I was not around then, but I think this whole thing gets exaggerated. You know, there are different prime ministers who think differently, and Gujral was one of those who thought, like you said, like a peacenik.
This is the schizophrenia of India, Pakistan. Either you're completely hawkish or you're completely romantic.
Yeah.
Nobody's actually.
But he didn't go that much by intelligence, you know. And there have been other prime ministers as well. Narasimha Rao used to also say, kya hai?
Are you being a hopeless romantic when you suggest that the red carpet should be rolled out for the Pakistani army chief by India, and you pretty much indicate that if it were, he would come, he would accept that invitation? What makes you make such an argument?
No, I don't think I'm being romantic here at all.
What are you basing this suggestion on?
It's a gut feeling. It's a gut feeling. And as I said, it's the reverse of what I had earlier suggested, that our NSA should go there. And since the Pakistanis didn't have the gumption to invite him.
Invite Mr. Doval.
Invite Mr. Doval. Invite Mr. Doval. Now we have a situation which is very frustrating, that every time we make an overture to Pakistan, you know, the deep state sabotages it.
So then why suggest to invite the Pakistan?
That's why I say, let's get the bull by the horns and talk to the deep state, talk to the guy who matters. Look at what is happening in the world, you know. There's a lot of global inflection taking place. Who would have thought the two Koreas could meet? Or that President Trump might think of meeting President Kim. A lot is happening, and a lot is happening around us also. We heard Modi ji, when he went to China, spent 9 hours with the top Chinese leadership, conversing about, I'm sure, international affairs. And Pakistan would have figured. Now he's just been to Russia.
Right.
And I think if you invite General Bajwa, it will be a clear message that, look, India is big enough and we can sort out our problems between the two of us ourselves.
What makes you A, think he'd accept it, and B, who would he talk to?
He would come.
Why would he come?
As I said, it's just a gut feeling. And
is that based on?
It's based on what's happening around us in the world.
And who would he talk to?
And also, if you notice, of late, General Bajwa has said more than once that we want peace with India. Now, you can't just sit there and say we want peace with India. Are you prepared to do something about it?
Who would he talk to? Building your hypothesis, who would he talk to?
He would come, naturally he would engage mainly with the NSA, and then I'm sure he would get a meeting with the Prime Minister.
And you actually think this is an opportune moment? You've been seeing what's been happening
at
the border, international border, where there is firing. A child was injured.
I am saying this because I think India is big enough a state where we don't need the help of others, and we should be able to sort out our own problems ourselves, as you would remember was decided at the Simla summit between Bhutto and Mrs. Indira Gandhi in 1972, that India and Pakistan would sort out their problems, particularly Kashmir, bilaterally.
Talking about summits, both you and General Durrani seem to agree that the furor over Sharm el-Sheikh and the joint statement on Baluchistan, both of you seem to believe it was unwarranted. Pakistan would argue that, but you believe also that it was a storm in a teacup. Interestingly, in that exchange, General Durrani actually makes two important reveals. One is that he believes that India is a small player in Baluchistan, that the Americans are a much bigger player. Two, he talks about, similar to what you've said in Kashmir, he actually talks about using money as inducement to manage Baluchis and Baluchi separatists. So talk a little bit about this important comment on Baluchistan from General Durrani.
So I think it's very candid of him to say that we are a very small player. I tried to tell him we are not a player at all. We don't meddle in Baluchistan. And he conceded that, you know, you have only 4 consulates and they are not being used for intelligence purposes. So I think from our point of view, it's an admission from Pakistan, from the general, that we are not meddling in Baluchistan.
But I think you say at some point that if he says at some point, if you were doing nothing, I would think poorly of the RAW.
Of course, that he says many times. Yeah. He said that about proxies as well. You know? So that everybody uses proxies.
So where do we read Kulbhushan Jadhav, which also he says that we Pakistan brought that up because Pathankot had just happened, we needed a counter.
But he has again conceded that Pakistan messed up Kulbhushan Yadav's case, that it should have been kept in the quiet and the NSA should have spoken about it and sorted it out. It need not have been made so public. The general has admitted that. That's my take as well. Whether he is a spy or not a spy, nobody knows.
Dulat Sahab, this book, your previous book on Kashmir, landed you in enough of a hot soup when you spoke about money as an inducement to manage both militants and separatists. This book, by its very concept, could be even more controversial for you. You're joining hands with, you know, the ISI is considered the biggest enemy of India. The ISI is Pakistan's deep state. You've co-authored a book with a former ISI chief. What's been the response of your agency, of the government, of the establishment?
I don't know of any response, but I'm sure that they would not be exactly happy.
Have they conveyed that to you?
No, nobody's conveyed anything to me, but I'm sure, yeah, there would be reservations that why this book.
And what would your answer be?
My answer is twofold. One is that if you look at it, in a sense, this book actually flows out of the last book, where I had ended by saying, and that is the crux of the last book, that we need to talk and talk. So this book also is about talking. Actually, we are actually talking here, the general and me. Yeah. The second thing is that what is this whole noise about? Because this again, in another sense, is an extension of what we have been talking for the last 5 years in the India-Pakistan intelligence dialogue. Similar kind, in fact, much worse things are said there, which obviously can't be put into a book. So what is wrong? If Pakistan is the enemy, firstly, why do we have a High Commissioner in Pakistan? And secondly, why are we engaging in this intelligence dialogue? And it's not been a one-off thing, it's gone on for 5 years.
And you're actually suggesting that the station chiefs in both countries
absolutely
need not be undercover?
No, they should not be. I'll tell you why. One, it would help in engagement. It's obvious, it's common sense. Secondly, this harassment that diplomats go through in a hostile country, particularly our diplomats. Actually, we would like to post, or we try and post the best people in Islamabad. It's a very important station. But if he is followed 24/7, he's reduced to zero.
Durrani goes against the grain of the Pakistani state at one point when he says that he believes that Pakistan led the American Navy SEALs to Osama bin Laden. The official account in Pakistan and by the White House is that Pakistan was taken by surprise. Durrani argues that Pakistan needed to play incompetent because there was a deal. He doesn't know what kind of deal. What is your own assessment on those comments?
I think the truth lies somewhere in between.
Which is?
There is a grey area here. I think Bin Laden had been with the ISI for some time. They needed to keep him in hiding. And like the general says in the book, that he knew all along that he could not have been in the hills or in the tribal area. He would have to be kept in a big city, and his guess was Karachi. So it was not Karachi, it was Abbottabad, which was even more convenient for the army or the ISI. And somehow the Americans got wind of it. And the story is, and if I'm not wrong, I think the general admits or indirectly admits that there was possibly a mole, a retired major or so of the Pakistan Army who had worked for the ISI, who gave this tip off to the Americans. And then they used that doctor who is now...
Who's still,
Afridi,
I think his name was, So you believe that something in between happened. It isn't quite what either side claims. In the end, Dulat Sahab, I must ask you the reason for your optimism, not just on India, Pakistan, but also on Kashmir, which is close to your heart, my heart. Haven't things changed in a way that neither of us recognize? We are used to a certain willingness in Kashmir to talk. Today, even if you talk to the separatists say, we are also losing our relevance on the street. There is an entire generation of, some would say, radicalized, hardened young men who aren't scared of dying. And funerals have become recruitment grounds for the next generation of militants. So who do we talk to?
Yeah, you're right. Kashmir has changed, and it's very sad what is happening there, because I was up there about a fortnight ago, and the most depressing part of what I sensed was fear, cough. But that the Kashmiri is not willing to talk is wrong. He's craving to talk. He's craving to find a way out of this whole mess that he's in. But there are no takers. Who does he talk to? And you're right about the youth. That again there is frustration. कि कुछ होने वाला नहीं है, बंदूक उठाएंगे.
What would you urge Prime Minister Modi to do?
You see, I thought that the appointment of Dineshwar Sharma,
the envoy, the Kashmiri tutor,
was brilliant, because he is the best guy available in Delhi for the job. He's straight, he's simple, he's humble. He understands Kashmir. He's empathetic. He has everything that is required. But he's not doing what he should be doing.
You mean he's not being empowered?
I don't know how much he's empowered. I can't pass judgment on that. But I would have liked him, when he first went to Srinagar, to have driven straight to the Mir Waiz's residence. And then you would have watched the tamasha in Kashmir.
You saw when the parliamentarians tried to meet with...
You see, the parliamentarians, even the parliament...
The door was shut in their face by Mr. Gilani at that point.
Yeah, but I'm sure Gilani regretted it. Yeah, today even Gilani is in a mess, because, I think his son-in-law is in jail, and he's having a lot of problems in the family.
So in one line, what should Prime Minister Modi do next in Kashmir or on India-Pakistan, if he were to take your advice?
Engage.
And are you worried this book is going to land you in trouble?
No, I have always been in trouble.
Thank you, Mr. Dulat. Pleasure talking.
Thanks a lot.